Hey everyone, I'm Mariana. This is Impression Blend and I have a very special video for you today. I am so excited to be talking about Fantasia International Film Festival, which is going on right now from August 20th to September 2nd. They are an amazing festival for anyone looking to discover new and exciting genre films from around the world. You guys know this is something near and dear to my heart. And with everything that is going on in the world at the moment, instead of canceling, thankfully, they decided to make it happen virtually for their 24th year. So I have been attending a film festival from my couch, which has been great. I've been watching so many films, and of course, I have to tell you about the ones that stood out the most to me and the ones I think you should keep an eye out for. Today, we are mixing horror with toxicity on the internet, which is a horror of its own. So I have 5 films to tell you about in this first part of my Fantasia 2020 coverage. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Let's talk about some movies. Detention is a Taiwanese film that combines supernatural and psychological horror with a chilling real-life backdrop of Taiwan's White Terror period. It's set in 1962 at a school where a boy and a girl are trapped in the middle of the night, a situation that quickly turns into potent nightmare fuel. Apparently, this is also based on a hit indie video game under the same name, which I have not played, but if the film is any indication of how the game is, it must be a chilling and heartbreaking experience that I may need to check out. This also has to be one of the best video game to screen adaptations. Detention keeps going back and forth between the nightmare scenario and flashbacks that are used to fill in the gaps and make the viewers understand what is actually going on. Both timelines are very interesting to follow. One is full-on nightmare, and I must say, as someone who has had vivid nightmares in the past, I really appreciated how well that feeling you get when you're stuck in a bad dream translated onto the screen. The other is a more dramatic story revolving around a banned books study group and the main character's feelings about a teacher, which is an element of the story I personally did not love. Overall, though, there is a lot going on here, from physical, horrific representations of real-life issues to powerful themes and emotional punches, to a fascinating historical background that is going to make you want to do more research. Taiwan's totalitarian past as a nightmare to wake up from. Thank you, horror, for continuing the tradition of representing real-life problems. And yeah, maybe some parts would have benefited from a bit more subtlety and some better visual effects, but this is a film I could not look away from, and I think a lot of horror fans would find it satisfying as a scary story and as a story with a lot to say. The Oak Room is a horror mystery from Canadian filmmaker Cody Callahan, set during a snowstorm at a bar in a small, remote Canadian town. A young man walks into an empty bar right as it's closing and claims he has a hell of a story to tell, set in another bar on another snowy night. I don't know about you, but something about the structure of a story within a story always piques my interest, and this one did not let me down. The Oak Room is all about its storytelling, the way those multiple stories weave in and out of each other, how they come together, and how much you can do by telling a story the right way. This is a great film for anyone who enjoys a good, small-scale, dark mystery that takes its time to build up the tension in the beginning, takes the viewers through some twists twists and turns and has a payoff in the end that is worth waiting for. Aside from this twisted, multi-layered storytelling I keep mentioning, which is the main attraction of the Oak Room, the film shows its heart in a father-son relationship and subtle themes of the personal fallout of leaving your hometown and your family behind in hopes of a better future. Combine that with charismatic performances and an atmospheric wintry setting, one of my favorite settings for horror, and what you have is a well-told, dialogue-driven horror mystery that is here to show you how much can be done with a minimal setting and a good story. Look, anthology films are hard to do, so I am very impressed that American writer-director Ryan Spindle was able to pull this off. The Mortuary Collection is the perfect film for those of you who are missing that strange, almost dark fantasy vibe of something like Tales from the Crypt. It is absolutely meant as a love letter to EC horror comics and horror anthology films of the 80s, and personally, I found this film very entertaining and oddly nostalgic, from its rich, colorful setting to the strangeness of the 4 stories included here, and the perfect balance of scares, humor, and cheese. The Mortuary Collection was one of the biggest surprises of the festival for me. Plus, seeing Clancy Brown as an ominous mortician was just a special treat. The overarching plot here is that a girl is interviewing for a job at a mortician's office and challenges him to tell her a few of his scariest stories. And he sure has stories to tell. This is a big part of why the anthology format actually makes sense and works here. The storytelling is a part of the setup, and it eventually ties everything in at the end. It's also very refreshing to see someone just have fun with the genre in the most loving way and embrace any kind of absurdity, silliness, or grossness that comes along with that. This is the type of film that I was hoping to get out of last year's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark adaptation and didn't. I could totally see this becoming a hit with horror fans who are looking for a bit of a throwback horror entertainment, and if you are one of those horror fans, make sure to keep an eye out for the Mortuary Collection. So The Columnist is actually the very first Fantasia 2020 film that I saw, and it was a very memorable way to start the festival for me. This darkly satirical thriller from the Netherlands is about Famke, a columnist and author struggling to deal with some awful comments about her and her work online. One day, she decides to take revenge on one of her haters, who turns out to be her next-door neighbor, and that sends her down a dark path. While it definitely walks that line between comedy and thriller in the beginning, the film gets darker as it goes on, and the sharp commentary on internet culture and hypocrisy becomes even more obvious. I loved the fact that this film worked on multiple levels. First of all, it's an effective, occasionally violent thriller with an amazing lead performance by Katja Herbers. Second, it leaves you with a lot of interesting questions to consider when it comes to free speech on the internet, as well as our perception of an attitude towards people we think we know because of the internet or the persona that they put out into the world. And third, its satirical nature and dark humor keep the film from getting too heavy, and it is very entertaining in some twisted way. I particularly also enjoyed the jab at the denial some people still have about the internet and its effect on people's lives. Famke is repeatedly told that the hate and threats she's getting it's not that big of a deal because it's not real. It's the internet. It's not an actual thing. She should just get over it or not visit the websites where she can be exposed to this. On the flip side, we also see how easy it is for her to get lost in people's opinions to the point where she's having trouble writing and instead is obsessively checking those comments, eventually exacting her revenge against the trolls and seeing herself as some vigilante figure. I think a lot of you would find this interesting. As you can tell, I personally really enjoyed it. It is a very relevant and timely film, especially considering that all of us here right now are a part of this internet culture. And speaking of internet culture, another one of my favorites from the festival is Feels Good Man. Yes, a documentary about Pepe the Frog, his creation and transformation from an innocent cartoon frog into a controversial meme. This is definitely the best film I've seen at Fantasia 2020 so far, and easily one of the best films of the year overall. As a documentary, it is incredibly well done, from its editing and the particular use of visuals to illustrate the points that are being made, to the way the story is told in general and how much ground the documentary manages to cover. Feels Good Man effortlessly flows from the actual creation of the character and the artist behind the original comic, Matt Fury, to the nature of transformation of things in culture in general and Pepe's transformation in particular, eventually venturing into money and politics. It also coincidentally has a bit of a thematic crossover with The Columnist because it also touches on this idea of people dismissing internet culture as something that isn't real, something separate from the regular world, missing the point that the internet has been shaping culture more and more and will continue to do so. I know you guys don't need to be told this, but it is a part of the story. This is a fascinating exploration of Pepe's journey as well as a snapshot of history that's going to be enjoyable whether you're someone who's pretty familiar with everything that's being discussed here, or if you're someone who's only vaguely familiar with the meme's significance. It covers a lot of ground, it is very well put together, it is funny, also slightly terrifying, and this is something that you will actually be able to see pretty soon because it looks like Feels Good Man is going to be available on VOD on September 4th. I wish I could tell you the release dates for the rest of these, but I just have no idea at this point. Hopefully, and I'm assuming that that is true, they will soon become available to either rent or stream, so keep an eye out for all of these. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next part of this, and I also have some reviews coming up that I'm so excited about, and I think you're going to enjoy them as well. A huge thank you to Fantasia International Film Festival for making it possible to experience new films without leaving the safety of our homes. By the way, let me know if any of you are attending the festival as well at the moment and what are your favorites that you've seen so far. And as always, a special thank you to all of you who are supporting me on Patreon. An extra special thank you to the patrons whose names are on the screen right now. And of course, a big thank you to every single one of you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, which I hope you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications. All of my social media links are in the info box below as always, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.